What's up, everyone? I'm here with old school death metal Finnish legends. Really nice to meet you guys tonight. Johan, Rami. Yep. Relay.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, you guys played a 6 set tonight, and honestly, I'm glad to see you guys again after 6 years, because Maryland Death Fest 2013, that was my first festival, and I'm like, yo, when's Convulse going on? Oh, yeah, they're going on right now, so I missed pretty much your guys' whole set, except for the last song, and that is attached to the table. So, I'm just gonna get started here, since I know that you guys got to get out of here soon. Yeah. So, the first thing I wanted to ask is, you guys released one hell of an album in 1991, and this is an album that has stuck with not only me, but probably a lot of people ever since I got into the band. And, you know, I discovered it in 2013, like I said. But once I heard World Without God, personally, I was hooked. And for a lot of people, when they think old school death metal, they think Bolt Thrower, Morbid Angel, Incantation, Entombed, whatever. But for me, World Without God will definitely always be my favorite OSDM album. But one thing that I do want to ask is, you guys have other releases, but a lot of times when I notice you guys play the United States, you tend to lean towards more doing a World Without God set. Now, is that because you know, you guys are kind of self-aware that that's a fan favorite, or you feel like in your heart that like that's the best decision to do as well?
Okay, hello.
You can hold the mic.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, I'm Rami from Convulse, yeah. I think that's because we are asked to play to festival. And then the second question is, would you like to play the World Without God set? so I have to say it. Yeah, we can play it. We like it and we love it. So why not? Everybody is happy. Everybody needs World Without God. We can play World Without God. And yes, we have made lots of albums after that also, and we are making a new album already. Recorded some bass and basic tracks, drums and bass, and yeah, that's different stuff. But we are still Convulse, and we can play World Without God if we want. That's not a problem. It's a hell of a good album.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad that it's doing what you guys want rather than just what the fans want too. But I actually have a quick question here for you, Han. For one thing, how long have you been the bassist of Convulse? Because I'm not sure if you were in the lineup in 2013.
Well, I quit 1940. 1994. I quit. We broke up about, and
right,
I didn't play at 70 years. I play steel guitar by myself. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
And we came up for that festival 2012 because they asked for Rami and me, is it possible to come here, our hometown, to play?
Unit Convulse.
Yeah.
But Juha is the original bass player.
Yes, I am.
Oh, that's cool. So he's the original bassist.
Yes.
Just in case the mic didn't pick that up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, that's really important. I think for us to have the first Convulse New York show with literally everybody in the original lineup except for
Yanni,
the guitarist. Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah. So you know, like I'm only in my mid-20s, so obviously I didn't get to live through the decade of aggression and the 80s, which some of my friends got to live through when death metal would be, like I say, at its peak. But one question, a little bit off topic that I actually didn't write here. I actually noticed you used a 5-string bass, which I was a little bit surprised about, because when I was trying to learn 2 of the songs, I didn't think it would work. So I tuned my 5-string bass a step and a half up to C sharp. What tuning is everything on World Without God?
Well, the E string is C.
Oh, it's C?
It's C.
So I was close.
Yeah. And I don't use 5-string only today, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have 4-string bass.
Okay.
And C tuned.
Gotcha. All right. Well, moving on to the second question here. Basically, this is something that I asked Ripikulu as well. Essentially, Convulse with a lot of really underrated bands from Finland. I would say like Unearthed Gems. Like you guys were contributing to the extreme metal scene in your area as early as the 90s, yet didn't get really discovered until much later. So what do you guys feel really interfered with the marketing as America recognizing Convulse just as much as Bolt Thrower or like any of the other bands? Since in my opinion, European extreme metal is really where it's at. So I wanted to know not only your opinion on that, but also when I was speaking to Ripikulu, they said that the grunge era was kind of something that every metal band kind of had to suffer through. So I was wondering if you guys agreed or disagreed with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, underrated. I don't know about that, but the most important thing back in days was that Entombed and Bolt Thrower and bigger bands like that, they were in major labels. So like Music for Nations and Century Media and from Finland we weren't so in so big labels, so we didn't get so much promotion. I think that's the main reason we are not so big. Big in Japan, big in America.
I mean, hey, you guys got on 70,000 tons of metal, and when I saw that Convulse was on 70K, I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that. Like, that's the type of thing I wanted to happen. Yeah. But I didn't get to go because I was tied up with other things at the time. Yeah. So next up, I've noticed during billings, people actually have been using a different logo than the flyers, like on the flyers, rather than the old school logo that we all know from, World Without God and the 90s era. So I was wondering why that was, and I was actually wondering if the band officially changed the logo or if promoters are just using a different logo for the most part.
Actually, I sent different logos. Okay, we have different logos, that's true. At our first demo tape, Resuscitation of Evilness, we had our the very first logo. It was made myself, and then we changed the logo to World Without God. If I remember correctly, I made that one too by myself. It's almost fucking 30 years. But I always send different logos, and promoters can choose what they want.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Is there anything else either one of you guys want to see on the matter?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because Metal Archives, like the logo that's used on flyers, Metal Archives doesn't even really like show that on the front page for some reason. Yeah. But if you go to certain albums like Cycle of Revenge, it will show the logo.
Okay.
Yeah. So fourth question, simple enough. What are some of this band's greatest influences? All of you from right to left.
So my greatest influences?
Yeah.
Musically?
Yes.
Yeah, so, well, I listen to all kind of music. I've always done it. Mm-hmm. So I actually can't name anything specific. All like old school Iron Maiden stuff.
Yeah.
Creator. Anthrax. That stuff.
I love Anthrax.
I was a kid when they came, so that's what I grew up with. And later on, everything else goes. What's good is good.
Definitely. Logical.
Yeah, I have also listened to music very open-minded since 80s. I started with the new wave of British heavy metal, and you said Iron Maiden was the first band I listened to from heavy metal, and after that I went to speed metal, classics like No, okay, Anthrax is perhaps more thrash metal, but speed and thrash metal Testament is a great influence. And after that, I discovered Creator, Slayer, went more dark thrash metal, and after that I recognized Sepultura and Beneath the Remains, and that was oh fuck, this is great. And after that I discovered Death, Bolt Thrower, Autopsy, bands like that, and eventually I got into death metal about 89, 90, and that was the at first we played speed thrash metal with a different name, and after that I discovered death metal, and Death was the first band for me from death metal, and that was a huge but same time I listened to much Led Zeppelin, The Who, Black Sabbath, all 70s classic, and when I grew up I started even more open-minded, progressive stuff, and that leaves a mark for me. So I haven't ever been stuck in some sort of style, and it doesn't bother me. For me, it's most important to do new music. I worship World Without God, but I have to do new music. My head is full of melodies, and I have to just put it out, and that's how it comes and goes. Sorry for the long answer.
No,
That's okay.
it's not okay. I don't give you any band's name, you know? I'll give you 3 names.
Sure.
John Paul Jones, Geddy Lee, Caesar Butler.
I mean, those are, like classic metal musicians, and I don't think anybody can argue with that, really. And before I get to the last question, so, I noticed over the years, obviously, you guys went from a 4-piece to a 3-piece band, and I think for a lot of bands, it's a little bit difficult to pull that off, to still make the guitar sound full during the solos. So Johan kind of, harmonizes against your solos in order to take up the empty space. But would there be any possibility in the future of hiring another rhythm guitarist, or do you guys think that Convulse will stick to a 3-piece band?
Okay. I don't see any problem that we are trio. It's much better to play as a trio because you find the dynamics of the band, the groove better when you are tighter, when you are only a trio. And we have concentrated now for 5 years to play trio. So that's not going to happen. Sorry.
No, I think it's I think it's legitimate because honestly, if you guys function as a unit, as a 3-piece better, then you guys should stick to a 3-piece. Because, for what it's worth, even if I didn't miss the rest of the set at Edison Lot, this still probably would have been better, only because, you guys were a featured act. You guys were the headliners. People came here today to see Convulse, not just, Maryland Death Fest with a whole bunch of bands and Convulse playing during the day and whatnot. So you guys have really come a long way, I feel, especially considering the fact that you have the representation on Relapse Records at this point. Just one more, and then I promise I will get to the last question. How does it feel to be in the States again? And of course, how does it feel to play the first show ever in New York?
Okay, it's great to be in America. It's great to be here in US, and definitely the crowd was incredible, both in LA, in Chicago, and here in New York, and that's great. That's I have to say that we can't bring our own instruments, we can't bring our own effect pedals, so we lent all the gear. So that's. I appreciate that other bands lend them instruments, but it would be cool sometime to play with your own guitar, with your own distortion pedal in bass, as you are asking about a 3 or 4 members band. So we need distortion and need that. Yeah. So we didn't have a distortion pedal, for example, today, and it's a very solid thing in our bass sound. Yeah. But okay, it feels great. I'm not complaining.
Definitely.
Yeah.
3 days. 3 days, three different bass, you know. It's hard because nothing is yours.
Yeah.
And, now we were here, LA, different bass, Chicago, different bass, today, different bass.
Well, different bass, different space.
I am out of space.
Well, I mean, that definitely shows versatility in the musician, that you can adapt to essentially whatever thrown at you. I personally would prefer sometimes to use the house kit, but that's just me. Because then I just have to worry about my cymbal rack and cymbals. But last but not least, I know I kind of asked a similar question of like, okay, what influenced you guys, you know, growing up and whatnot. But as of, you know, right now, Ripakulu pretty much just told me every metal band from Finland is good. But what I'm wondering is, are there any local bands you guys are friends with that may not be really that well known to the general public as of right now, but you guys feel should deserve more credit and possibly more representation in the future? Who wants to start with that one?
I don't know about the new bands. Sorry about that. I of course I know the new bands, but we are doing our own stuff. But I would like to play, of course, here together with Lubricant, with Galvanizer, with Putinans, you know, the old classic stuff. But one thing which annoys me is that the Demigod doesn't play anymore, and I would like to see Demigod. Okay, but Galvanizer is a real good band. Yeah, you should check them out. But perhaps you know it already.
Wait, Demigod or a different band?
Sorry?
Demigod or a different band?
Demigod and Galvanizer.
Colonizer?
Galvanizer.
Sure.
It's a Finnish.
I don't think, is it new band? Yeah. Galvanizer have touring, and they are going to Maryland next year.
Wait, so just to reiterate, you said the name of the band was Colonizer with a C?
No, B.
A B?
Yeah, with G.
G.
Colonizer. Okay, I'm sure that if they're playing on what I'm thinking they're playing on, Maryland Death Fest?
Yes, and Netherlands, yeah.
All right, then I will definitely see them on the flyer, and I'm definitely going to research them before going to the festival. But I mean, I'm researching all bands for this year. I didn't do that great of a job of researching every single band for of prior years that I went to Death Fest, but hey, I managed to discover you guys, and that's why we're here right now. But so this pretty much wraps it up for today, except since I actually already own something from Convulse, despite the fact that they had nothing at the merch table, I do want to do a ritual at the end of every segment of an interview where I get something signed on camera. So,
okay.
Give me one moment. Here you guys go.
Thanks, man.
No problem, Rami.
Here you go.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. And thank you guys so much. Ruhan, Rami, Rolu. Yeah, no problem. You guys take care.